Today, we're joined by Giselle La Rosa for Beyond the Bottom Line People First Leadership in Practice. Giselle, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Nicole. And thank you, Fanita, for having me. My name is Giselle, and I've been in the speech world for about a dozen years, and it feels like forever. I can't remember who I was before I was a speech pathologist, honestly. It feels so foreign. But I'm the owner of Happy Play Therapy, proudly. And we have a veteran owned, women owned, and minority owned practice here in Davie that we're really proud of. And I love what I love, which is everything. I love helping others, community, connecting with people. I love supervising students. I love mentoring CFs. This is, I think, definitely that's where my passion is.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Vanita Litvak. If you were just tuning in for the first time, I go by she, her, hers. I've been an SLP since 2014. I am the host of the Speechie Side Hustle podcast, which is part of the Tassel Learning Network. I'm also the CE content consultant for Tassel, a private practice owner, an adjunct professor, and now an SLPD student at Northwestern.
And I'm Nicole Umania dos Santos. I am an SLPA. I graduated from Emerson College in 2017 with my BA in Communication Sciences and Disorders. And I am also Tassel COO and CE Administrator.
We love very much. She's also the host of the Speechy Side Hustle podcast, Nicole.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to add that.
That's okay.
All right, let's get into it. I'm excited to learn more about Happy Play Therapy. So, what inspired you to start Happy Play Therapy, and how does your philosophy influence how you lead and serve families?
So it's a loaded question. And honestly, it's a combination answer because it's a mix of burnout, feeling like I'm losing a little bit of my authenticity of who I am, being a mother, and just manifesting that energy to fulfill my dreams. So it's definitely a concoction of all of that. When I was in undergrad and I got into speech, I knew from then that I wanted long-term goal was to open a private practice. And so I did everything that I could to lead up to that. And during that journey, I also realized, oh, do I really want to do this? This is pretty chaotic. There's definitely not peaches and cream. So it definitely made me rethink, should this be my long-term goal? I was happy with where I was at. I was the director of a very well-known private practice down here in South Florida. And I poured myself into it because I was no longer seeing the long-term vision of the private practice ownership. But through that, like I said, I poured myself into that role. And there were a lot of letdowns and there were a lot of things that I didn't align with. And that made me rethink, is this where I want to be? Is this who I want to be? And so that made me really reconsider looking back into that. I felt that I wasn't the type of leader that I wanted to be because it wasn't my company. So even though I loved it with my heart, I still had to abide to my role and my responsibilities. And so that was, I think, the big push of, you know what, you have to kind of do this yourself, Giselle. That combined with having my son, which is my second child, and seeing and being very proactive in getting a medical diagnosis. Actually, at 4 months, I was like, something's up, something's up. And through a lot of medical gaslighting, that's what I like to call it, because that's exactly what it is, I realized that people, like the world needs me. And I know it sounds like very cliche, but I felt that to be the change, you have to be the change. You have to push yourself and put yourself in that role because it's not about you. It's about everybody else that's around you. And so I took that and I still take that very seriously. And so I was like, you know what? Do I really want to open a private practice? Financially, the burnout that comes with that, the being 24/7 on? No, I don't, because it's going to sacrifice into being the mother and wife that I want to be. but my son needs me. My son needs me as a mother, but my son needs me in other roles to fulfill because I have to help other families like my son and like us. And I know it's like that's like a really word vomit, probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's authentic. That's unscripted. So this is kind of just my thoughts rolling out. I saw and I still to this day see so many parents and I hear their stories, just like I'm sure you guys have. And it's not fair. It's not fair that we don't have more medical professionals, sadly, in different roles and in different specialties that care, period. And so with my son and getting that diagnosis, I was like, I have to do this. It's no longer about me. It's just, I see what parents are going through. I'm in that role in myself. And so I take my, how I lead, I take that literally to the core of me. And I don't know if I answered fully that question.
And thank you for sharing your experience, like your first person experience as far as getting a diagnosis. That can be very frustrating. And not only from different families I've met in the field, but also some families that are close to me. I've seen firsthand how that burnout from a parent perspective can just feel so difficult. I'm sure you bring that into your practice when you meet with families. Is there anything else that you think that you look for to serve these families that you could, or like identifiers or ways that you try to put at ease? Like they might have come through 10 different doctors or they've tried to get a diagnosis and they're coming to you for help. What do you do to help people in that scenario, or something that you've put into your practice to support those families?
Absolutely. I feel like I do a lot of things. And so I'm going to do another word vomit here. So I apologize. It starts from the beginning. So from that first call, it matters to me, everyone's experience. And I feel that every piece affects and influences and affects like the other piece. So I try to take care of all the pieces separately so that they mesh better. And for example, my team, I I don't do that traditional interview experience. So right from that, the people that I add to the team, I'm really trying to comb through and get to who they are as a person. I'm not really asking, and maybe this isn't really the best thing to say here, but I'm not asking a lot of technical questions. I think we all have done things reflectively as therapists that maybe we probably wouldn't do today. And so there's growth and evolution in our techniques. So I feel like if I focus on techniques in an interview, which is pretty standard, I will lose the other element that I cannot teach, that innate person, like who they are to their core and what their passions are. And so, right from who I add to my team, I have to envision them with my children and with my son in particular. If I don't feel through this, long, sometimes I have interviews that are pretty long and they already know, like the admin team, they already know that she's still scoping them out. I may be with that person for 2 hours or a little bit longer if you count the phone interview, but it doesn't feel forced. It's definitely a conversation. And I want them to also know where I lie in my views and my philosophy and how my standards are, because it's a mutual decision. I have to feel that they're a good fit, but they need to know if I'm a good fit. Can they be with somebody like me, over them? Do they like the way I speak to them? Do they like the questions that I ask? I respect that. And so I think that it needs to be a mutual decision. So right from that beginning, that is empirical. When you have a good team that care, that are passionate, that are excited to take on like really cool CEU courses and things like that, when you ignite that in them, all you're really doing is you should be, I think, maintaining it. Because I shouldn't be their ignition, but they should have that when they come to me, but I should be able to continue that fire that they have already. And so the team is important. My admin team, I'm also very protective of. And with the families, same thing. So all of my pieces matter tremendously to me. I also don't just take every child. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Our facility is not set up for all kinds of children. Pediatrics is very broad and there's so many layers to it. And so if I was a private practice that just rakes on, oh, you got the insurance, come on in, you're going to lose that ignition that all these girls already carry. My team is all a female team right now. So that matters. Being selective with who you include on all ends affects everybody else. So that is a big thing that I do here and that I take a lot of care into, a lot of time.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very true. That every part of your team is going to have an effect on a family's experience. So thank you for sharing about how you do that.
I just realized another way that I help my families very differently is I'm involved with a lot of organizations. My plate is full. It's a Thanksgiving platter. And yet I'm like, it's fine. I'll get another serving of cranberry sauce. It's all good. I carry a lot, which is probably not the best thing, but I can handle it. And I do that because the families need that. So I've had a lot of parents that have the majority actually of our caseload are transfers from other centers. And they have really appreciated how much more we go above and beyond with certain things. So for example, actually right now we just had Thanksgiving and because being kind is contagious. So I've had a lot of families that have donated canned goods and Pediasures and Pedialytes and all that kind of stuff. And so I have like always on display for no questions asked parents to come and grab whatever they may need. And so that is a big deal for a lot of families because they've expressed it. I connect with other organizations that also carry that same type of intention. For example, Prestige Club of Broward, Jack and Jill. We recently donated like a ton of sensory bins that our team crafted for an event that they're doing soon for Jack and Jill. And so those flyers, all of that stuff, I share that with my families here. And so we connect them to other organizations where they can also receive more resources, more benefits, more information, and just build their own village. So I help families connect with families and other sources out there.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Not only how you're serving your families, but also the community is having more of a brick and mortar type of practice, how you can expand into those different fields. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems like you're really leading with very big purpose. And
Yeah.
like you can see it come through when you talk about your business. And I think it's very different than how a lot of other people run their business. And it seems like you didn't want to start the business for certain reasons. And so you kind of strayed away from that. But when you got the diagnosis for your son, your purpose became so big that like you couldn't escape it anymore. And that's why you ended up starting your business.
Yes.
So I love that story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank
Now,
you.
we love your community involvement. So how do you feel like that has shaped your work with the children, families, and people on your team?
I think I mentioned earlier that kindness is contagious and passion is also like contagious. I don't know why I keep saying contagious, but it is. Being kind is cool. And so if you're in a work environment where it's really toxic or therapists don't really care, they're just doing the bare minimum. They're probably throwing an iPad in front of a child, and we don't do that here. We do a lot of hands-on sensory integration, lots of primitive reflexes, hands-on, all of that. When you have a group, you want to be part of that group. Like psychologically, we all innately want to feel like we belong. And so our environment and the people we surround ourselves affect that or influence that. So if I care about my community and I care about volunteering and I care about donating when we're a new business, like we really, from a business standpoint, probably is not the most sound thing to do, but it matters. It matters for so many things, for so many reasons. My team want to match that energy. They get excited about volunteering. They don't have to. There's no obligation. I never impose that on anybody. It's my choice. If you want to do it, great. I will help facilitate that. And I had somebody on my team that was like, you know what, she was part of FIU and all that. And she had this desire to do an autism event. And I was like, why not? Let's do it. Mind you, it was at the same time that I was renovating our office. Crazy. And I said, it doesn't matter. This is what matters to you. You really see this, that you want to do this. We will do it. And so that inspires her and that inspires the team. And so fulfilling each of our individual dreams, it matters a lot to me. And that's what I try to do is if a parent tells me, listen, I have this problem with this insurance and this and that, no one accepts my child, everyone rejects us, everyone kicks us out, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, let's find a way to make this happen. And everyone here knows that I will have these ideas at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how we're going to do this for this parent. And I don't know how I do it. I really don't. Because everyone's like, oh, how do you do it? I have no idea. I think it's just that drive that I like, that purpose, like you mentioned, like I really have such a strong sense of responsibility. That is really how I do it. I may not have the money, I may not have the time, certainly don't have the time, but I figure it out. But the team also, because they see that in me, they want to be part of it too, and that helps. So we really do have this like village style team because it's organic, it happened. And it all comes down to I take that very seriously. That's a big responsibility, and it's my job to do that.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. So thank you for sharing that. Can you talk a little bit about some recommendations you might have for anybody who's listening to this that wants to get more involved in their community?
Yes, I think what I do, and maybe this is an easy way to do it. When I'm in an interview, for example, this is one way because I could give you a lot of different ways to do something. I get to know that person. I get to really like, okay, what is this person's hobbies or interests? Like maybe it's not all speech or OT or PT, maybe it's something else. How can we merge that? How can we bridge this interest that doesn't really have anything to do with speech? Like, or for example, how do we connect this? And so I always am constantly thinking of bridging that because I think that when you have something that you're interested in, just like when we're doing therapy, you should be applying that same knowledge with your team. Like, duh, if you know that little Johnny is working on his R and he really likes Pokemon, you would merge the two. I do the same thing with my team. And so if I know that somebody's passionate about something else, I try to find those connections and I compensate them. For example, if you really like graphic design, like how can we connect that? If you really like writing, how do we connect that? Things like that. So I think that's a basic thing that you could do internally today. So you don't need anything. You don't need to think really hard on that. Just connect what somebody likes and incorporate it to your business, to your, how can you make it part of your model? So that's the number one. But another thing is always on I'm always trying to connect with like town of Davie, for example, which is where we're located. What is the town of Davie doing? Do they have any need for me? Is there something that I could help fill a void in? I try to do the same thing for schools. I volunteer to schools like, hey, just a heads up, if you want us to volunteer our time, because my team is about that, my team loves volunteering, they love community, we will come here and we will help your staff for free locally. I will come and I will do a parent workshop. And I've done that. I've connected with the library. There is a need for information and for quality information. Why not? I feel like we should have that sense of service internally. Ideally, you probably already have that if you're in this field, I would hope. Lean on that. Lean on that and pour into the people that need you, into areas that maybe you didn't think were needed or that you fit. That's what I do.
I love that. Those are great suggestions. Thank you for sharing them.
So, how have being a veteran, women, and minority owned with a multilingual team impacted your workplace culture and services?
So honestly, every time I think about this, it makes me laugh in a good way because I don't know how that's happened, but I'm so glad that it did. And I didn't realize that it happened until it had already happened. And I was like, I think one of the therapists, I think it was like when we were in our office upstairs, because we have two locations in the same building. And one of the therapists was like, did you know that like everyone here speaks different languages? And I was like, huh. I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I didn't even think of that. I'm really big on do not judge a book by its cover. And just like my interview style, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. I will hear your story. I'll ask you, like, oh, like I saw that you were in peds forever and then you're an adult and why are you coming back to peds? That's a little bit red flag. Like what's going on? And so that helps me understand what happened. Where is their heart? So I try not to judge people on the surface or on black and white, like in my interviews. And I think that has allowed me to just see people for who they are deeply in their heart. And it's just happened organically. And so I also think that people talk to other people and maybe that has helped and I'm not aware of. But when you have that type of view, I'll give you another example. I had a therapist here, she's still here, and she would always wear long sleeve. And I was like, aren't you hot? Like, it's hot. We're in South Florida. Like, you always have long sleeves under your scrubs. And like, these kids, if you're doing therapy right, you're breaking a sweat. And she was like, oh, it's because, like, I have tattoos and I didn't think it was I was like, girl, first of all, go in the bathroom right now and take this off. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, absolutely not. As long as they're not vulgar, I think we're fine. And then she was like, but the parents, I was like, if the parent does not like it, that's sad. And they could go somewhere else. I'm okay with that. I want you to feel good. You shouldn't have to do that. That's you. And so I feel like that makes people, I have all kinds of people here as far as like personalities, obviously looks, all that, but personalities are all different. And I think it matches, it just blends. We are such a cool crew because there's always something to learn. I have a few therapists that are Jewish, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Or wow, that's so cool. We all genuinely want to know about each other's cultures. One of our therapists, she's from India, and like she came recently and she was doing like hennas on all her hands. Like it's just it's so beautiful. And it's so beautiful because it's organic and it just happened. And Davie is extremely diverse. You should absolutely have blended people because they're all around us. It's so easy to do. Don't judge the resumes. Listen to people, hear them out, give them a phone call if you're kind of iffy about them, and it will happen. That's what we do.
That's so nice. Coming from an area that is so diverse, it's nice that you're able
I know.
to serve the community with SLPs of different cultures, different languages. Are you able to have bilingual services in your clinic?
Yes, I don't even know if we have people like ethnically from the same place. I think everyone's literally from different places here. Our patients are mostly English speaking, but they come from Israel, they come from Kazakhstan, Haiti. We have all kinds of families. They appreciate when we're doing an evaluation, it's usually not oftentimes, but for the most part, the child's speaking English because that's what the doctors told the family, that's what the teachers told the families. And so it's so sad. But at this point, that's probably the child's dominant language. So we do assess in that language. For the most part, we do have a lot of Spanish speakers. But when we do have a family that speaks another language, we want them to know exactly what we're doing and why, with the questions that we have to ask in an interview. So we will collaborate and we'll say, hey, we're going to have somebody here speaking, I don't know, Hebrew. Can you come in? Can you help the bridge the gap? And they're like, yeah. And we are always like tag teaming, we got this, we could do this. And so that's what's super exciting is that we still try to bridge that information for the families always.
That's really wonderful, and to be able to have that in your clinic and to make even just to make families feel more comfortable, whether the
Hmm.
evaluation is in English or you're able to translate more, I'm sure that it's gonna make them feel like your clinic is more of a resource to the community than, I don't know, just somewhere they have to go twice a week,
I
you
know.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing about your team and the diverse cultural perspectives that you bring and how that's able to better serve your community. Tell us, what advice would you offer to someone wanting to step outside traditional healthcare models and build something like you've built that is authentic and people focused?
I think my advice, part of it is like it should already feel natural to want to do that. So I feel like if it doesn't feel natural, this is probably not for you, or that's probably not the role that you're meant to be in. That's just my honest opinion. Now, for those that do have that desire, I think there should be always respect. Number one, how you talk to people is so important. You can say the worst thing, but if you say it kindly, it will be received well. So that should be number one. If you don't know how to talk to people, read a couple books, figure it out, look at YouTube, watch, I don't know, reflect on what you are doing wrong. You cannot control the actions of others. You can only control your actions. That's first and foremost. And I carry that in my healthcare model here. I would never, because it's happened to me, I've been on the receiving end, where you're nervous to tell the boss that you're pregnant or, that no, I know what that feels like. And that is crippling, to feel that you cannot be authentic, to feel that you cannot be vulnerable, to feel that you would be looked at differently because you're human. You have human problems. And so I do know that my team, they have told me crazy things. And I may not agree with their decision making in life. That's not my problem. My problem is not to give them advice. I'm not their counselor. They don't have to tell me anything. But if they choose to, I navigate that in a focused on solution, not focusing on their problem or focusing on how it affects the business. That is not what they want to hear. And so I try to lean on that human part. And I'm not going to lie, like it's difficult because obviously, as a business owner or as a leader in any way, in any capacity, when someone presents something that is a problem, quote, your first thing is like, oh my gosh, I have to now look at the schedule. I have to like, it's very and anxiety inducing, but it is our job. Plus, like professionally, we're supposed to have emotional control, duh. So you need to filter that. You need to filter those feelings, girl. Hold it in, reel it in. And so sometimes I'm given information and my brain goes into like business. Oh my gosh, what do I do? What's my next step? But I pause and I go, okay. I tell myself, I'll do a lot of self talk. This is not what this person wants to hear right now. It's not their problem. It is your problem. You will figure it out, as you always have and always will. Right now, they don't want your solution. They just want to be heard, etc. So you have to do that. If we are the experts in that, we should be, and we're supposed to do that with the clients that we serve, why are we not generalizing that to the people that work with us or for us? Like it's crazy. So I think that that is where we have to step in as people in this type of role of leadership, management, just business owning in general. You need to really control your feelings, set it aside, and be there for that person in whatever capacity they need. And so I do that. Is it easy? No. But that's what we have to work on is people, we have to evolve. We have to want to evolve. And we have to do that for our clients. We have to do that also for others.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think what you're really specifically talking about is how to run an authentic and people first company so that you can be there for your employees. And when you say control your emotions, you're probably talking about like emotional regulation, which how
Absolutely.
can you help somebody else who's dysregulated if you can't regulate your own emotions? So that makes sense. Starting there, regulating your emotions. If you need to take a pause and take a step outside, come back and then have a conversation with them, take that moment rather than just reacting right away. But again, like we're human. So I think if that happens, there are ways that you can go about it, and whether it's apologizing or just letting them see that you're vulnerable too. But are you taking insurance, Giselle?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So when we're like, when companies or private practices take insurance, sometimes that can take away from a people first model because the payer is not the client, the payer is the insurance company. It's a third
Mhm.
party payer. So how do you manage that? Like how do you manage the payer being insurance, but then the client and the people that you're serving like being the families?
So it's not going to sound kind, right? But at the end of the day, how I feel and how I run this is I don't want to lose any of my clients, any of my families, period. I really connect with them. I care about them. I'm always asking about how they're doing with the therapist. I want to know what's going on, how can I help, etc. But at the end of the day, and they are the ones that are paying, right? Because of them, we generate income. But for me, clients are always going to be calling. There's always going to be a need. And if we do not care about putting the needs of therapists and our team first, then that becomes a revolving door. And so then you have the clients, but you don't have the therapists. So I think
So
it's
your
important
priority
to,
is the team first,
yes, I,
regardless of
because
client,
yeah,
payer. That makes sense.
the team is going to care about your clients. It's
Mhm.
their clients, they're making an impact. If you have a
Mhm.
good team that are here for the good reasons because you filtered out the bad apples, when you do that, it will carry into the client. Like the client will reap that kindness, that passion, they'll reap that. But if the team feels like, oh my gosh, the owner's always takes any client or they're constantly overwhelming me with this or with that, they feel burnt out, they feel unheard, they feel unseen. And so then they feed off that negative energy to others. And then everyone else feels like they don't want to be there either. And nobody wants to be at happy play. That would be terrible because then that energy is what feeds into the kids. So as much as I do care, of course, and they're paramount to me, the clients, I just have the team right above. It's like a lot of psychologists may say that when you're in a relationship, and I always use analogies, like for everything, I always use analogies. So I'm surprised I haven't done one yet until right now. When you're in a relationship, you have a lot of people that will tell you, you have to put the kids first, or your children have to come first. But when you have that type of mentality, you lose the core of what that child needs, which is that parent dynamic, that duo. So you do have to care about your spouse, your significant other, the mother, father of your children. If you don't have a strong relationship with that person, if you're not a team, then the children are going to miss out on a better experience. So it's similar where if I don't have a strong team, where if we don't have a strong relationship, it will affect the families. So I cannot have a client first model because then that is where you lose the quality of you're like everybody else, where everyone's trying to escape you because there's a negative stigma about your kind of place. But if I have a team first model, I will always win because the kids are going to get the best care possible. And the team's going to be proud of that. And they're going to want to stand by a leader that's going to put that first, period.
I like that you
Yeah.
provided that clarification. Thank you. It seems like you're going top down and it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And I almost wish we had called this team first
Ah,
versus people first. But the analogy was perfect. So thank you for sharing that.
perfect. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well, especially from the point of being in different kinds of private practices that have different models and like reflecting on maybe some of the different models that they've used previously. Do you feel like this also having a like team first approach helps the turnover rate that a lot of private practices see? That you have a, I don't know, maybe a lower turnover rate in your clinicians?
Absolutely, 100%. I am very, I want to say blessed, I want to say lucky, I want to say a lot of words, but I'm proud of it. I've earned it. I've worked for it. I have people, I don't have the problem that a lot of other organizations are that are like desperate clawing for applications, for resumes. I have not spent a dollar on job placement ads or anything like that. So call it what you call it. But I've worked towards that. I've earned that. And that's all right. I'm giving myself kudos for that. I care about the team so much that yeah, I don't have that problem. My therapists, first of all, student interns have all applied to come back. And I've had that type of reputation even prior to my business here currently at Happy Play. And that people want to be mentored, led, call it what you want it, by people that they look up to, positive people that aren't going to be scolding them for like a mistake. When you're not allowed to be vulnerable, there's no learning involved. And so when you take out that element of like fear, then you become more vulnerable and that's where learning can happen. So I've had all of my interns like like, I've earned that they want to come back. So I don't have the same thing with my team as the hired people. One of my therapists, she's going to be returning from maternity leave. I told her, you can take whatever you want. It's fine. When you come back, we'll build you a new schedule. I'm okay with that. And they appreciate that because they don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to go back to work. It's all right, girl. You're a mom. You just enjoy this, soak it up because the job will always be here. It's all good. Your baby is your baby. Enjoy that moment, soak it up because it flies by. So getting that reassurance, I give you that. I pour that into you down your throat. I'm like, you will feel good about the decisions that you make. Like you deserve that. You will get that. I don't lead with greed. And I think that's a big deal. If you are constantly worrying about what the insurance is going to say and like, oh, the units that you have to bill, when you're constantly worrying about that, everything is going to fail because it's like, somebody pouring water and you're trying to catch it. You can't do it. You can't do it. So I let things go. That if I can't control it, let it go. It's all good. I control what I can. But my team, they give me the reassurance that I need. They're constant. Actually, I haven't even opened it yet, but like somebody left me this on my desk. I haven't even opened a card yet. I love cards and I keep that. But people are constantly leaving little thank yous. And I literally have like a whole bunch of things literally all around me. Like it's hilarious. I'm not a material person. I'm a very simple person, but it's their way of showing their appreciation. And I appreciate that. That's very kind. They don't have to do that, but I think they want to. And that speaks volumes to me. And my mom told me, actually, I should mention my mom at some point, right? She told me when I was going to open this that all she cares about, she's like, I'm not going to be proud of you by how much money you make. She's like, that means nothing to me. And she's always told me, I don't want to cry. But she told me, oh, I wasn't expecting to cry, that she'll be proud of me based on the lives that I change and the people that I lead, that I lead with kindness and that I'm a good leader. She's a retired police officer and she's been through all kinds of leadership, as you can possibly imagine. And I've always heard that throughout my life. Being in that role of any type of management or leadership, that should be treated with respect. You really need to hold that dear to your heart. And I do. And so I think that the team feels it. I feel it with them. I think I'm really lucky, blessed, worked hard for it, whatever word you want to call it. The team that I have is amazing. I love them, all of them. And I feel that they feel similarly towards me. They tell me a lot, so that helps. That's how I know. But I think it needs to feel that way for it to be successful. And if you have the insurance in front of your face and that's all you think about, I think you'll just be stagnant. I don't think you'll go really much. You always plateau when you have that type of thought, plateau, or it'll be a downfall. I'm in the beginning, so I think there's only up. I believe that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate how you broke down being a clinician first kind of clinic and how that can really affect like all of your families and how your clinicians really want to stay with you for the long term. So thank you for sharing that. We really appreciated listening to all of the principles and everything you've learned so far as being in business. So would you like to share how people can connect with you if they have any questions or would like to talk further?
Yes, absolutely. We have all of our handles. I'm wearing a lot of hats, as many private practice owners are. So I'm doing my own content creating, which is hilarious. You should definitely look at it because the team will have an inspiration or an idea and we're like, oh my God, let's all do this real. And we get really into it. But you can follow us on Instagram. We would really appreciate that because I told the girls, my team, they're all females. So I call them girls sometimes collectively. There's a big incentive if we get to 10,000. I was like, you guys are going to get this. I'm like, we might as well make fun. Let's do this. And so Instagram would be great because that's where their incentive comes. And as a team, I'm actually excited about it. But our website, happyplaytherapy.com, Instagram, Happy Play Therapy. We're on TikTok, like I said. We're on, what's the new word for Twitter now? I forgot, but we don't, X. Okay. I was like, I don't even remember. We have nothing there, but you can check that out too if you'd like. And certainly you can email us at any time at info@happyplaytherapy.com. I would love to hear from you.
Great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. It's been great getting to know you and learning about your approach.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited. Thank you.